pretty cute.
What is it?
They made sure you couldn't answer. The questions are in the ancient tongue of Aramaic.
Is that what that is?
We figured out so many ways to talk to each other that finally nobody can. Let's see. What's the true origin of the universe? What is the source of the planet Earth? It's a history find, all right? So many repeats. Eat the steak and then get a pen.
Welcome to the Start Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Alright, I put out a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago to be exact, hey man, I'm going to do an AMA, let's go. So put your comments and questions and other things down in the comment section, and we're going to go popping from there. So, pretty much, I'm going to spend this episode sort of reminiscing, talking about some things. The funny thing is, in trying to prep for this show, and also giving as much time as possible for people to put their questions in, I ended up listening to a bunch of old shows. And there is a point where you start to realize, like, okay, this is where I've changed as a person. And other parts is like, nah, this is, it's the same old G, like, not just this, it's just the same old G since 2005, like, nothing's changed. So, it's interesting listening to that, not only listening to some of my old analysis, but also just seeing things that are still valid, but more things that are not valid. And so that's been a very interesting revelation as I sort of sit back and I was listening to some old episodes. So let's go ahead and get it popping, get it jumping in this dancery. All right, so first off, we have Mike Holla 27. What's up, Mike? Mike, dude, is if folks don't know, my journey into being a hardcore tournament worlds level player is because of Mike. Back when his son was still in school and not in the military like Mike, he asked me, a question like, what does it take to be a worlds level player? And Mike's like, man, he still remembers that. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, when you got your hero origin stories, you gotta remember them. And so, that sparked off a lot of things, making it so that, like, I had to travel, making it so that I had to think about events, think about things instead of these grand local level hypotheticals. I had to be like, okay, where the pros at? And not only that, where the pros at, it's like, hey, how am I going to be a pro? How am I also going to get to the mountaintop and be there with you and not be like Martin Luther King and get murked before I see the promised land? Those are real things. So Mike is functionally the one that got me from base Goku and put me on that path to be Super Saiyan. So shout outs to Mike. So we got his first question. He says, my favorite shows you've done are what's up, what's in your head stuff. They are timeless and still relevant. I like a capstone of what's in your head and where you drop your top X lessons learned in clicks and how things you've learned will always apply. Thanks for all the shows. Okay, so I used to do this, commentary about what's inside your head, and I've sort of made it clear. I used to listen to a lot of pickup artistry before it was a bad word, and a lot of pickup artistry is about what's inside of your head, because the majority of times, guys' problems for approaching women was how they viewed themselves, and how society sort of reinforced throughout the years of what society views you as. Therefore, you must view yourself as that and be that person society views you as, which is, it has its impacts on you. But I was translating a lot of those lessons, and then also some of my wisdom lessons from reading Proverbs. And during that phase in time, I had to address me. I believe it or not, you can be wise and not mature. And in my late 20s, that was me. And then I had to start understanding the balance between how the world sees me and how I see myself, and what that meant. And I think the biggest lie that we end up telling ourselves, we tell our kids this, is that everyone just has to accept you, which that ain't true. Nobody has to accept you for jack. Okay? And everybody will love you for who you are. And that ain't true. That's a lie. People love you primarily for the value you bring. Now, again, all value is not created equal, and not everybody's looking for the same value. But people primarily love you off of the value you bring. And then when we get a little bit more advanced, is after investment has been done and it's reciprocal, because you have to deliver value, and for that person to still have value to you, they have to deliver value. You don't just go into this, emotional money pit where you're just giving value to people without getting anything back. I know some folks be like, well, what about this show? I'm like, you do not know the value I've gotten from this show. From meeting the people, to being able to talk to minds that I never thought I would talk to business stuff, to being able to impact this game in invisible ways, to promote people that I never thought I'd be able to promote. Okay, so no, I have gotten a lot out of this show. Heck, even for all the paid coachings that I've gotten, I've got financial money out of this show. So let's leave it at that. But I think the first main capstone lesson is move towards who you want to be, not what folks say you are. And that has been a huge thing. And I forgot the guy's name, but he's the head pastor at Life Church. You can find him online or whatever. And he says, if you want to do what other people aren't doing, you can't live like how other people live. If you're going to do things that other people can't do, you have to do the things that they aren't doing. And that becomes a huge thing where I look at, I'll call them the local shark, the resident alpha, is they will do enough to be good in their environment, thinking that they are good. Or a better way of putting it, this is something I've learned recently studying AI stuff. And there's a guy I listen to, I think it's called The Prime Time. There is a cycle in which you go from beginner to novice, to intermediate to expert. And then he had this cycle, and he shows us in this graph. But he says there's this thing called the expert beginner, in which the person has been a beginner long enough and they've received enough information, but because they're not challenged to be put into a more strenuous environment under higher pressure, they begin to think that they have reached the mountaintop easily. Oh, they're like, oh, that's all there is. That's all I need to know. We're good to go. And I think that in and of itself is a lot of players. A lot of players that think they're competitive, and even more so, a lot of players that rule their local meta with an iron fist, you know, and they put on the whole costume every week. Okay, and because they haven't ever been challenged on who they are in that role, that gets reinforced. And I have learned from working with hundreds of people over time, talking about their local venues and how to beat their number 1, 2, and 3. And if anybody doesn't know about that, that's something I talked about back in the hundreds. So you're going to have to go dig deep to go find that. In defeating the 1, 2, and 3, and it's pretty much operating and moving your way up from number 3 to number 2 to number 1, and then you're at the number 1 person at your venue, is when you start dissecting styles, when you start dissecting patterns, when you start to see what people are consistently doing, and you go into that analyst mode, you're able to defeat a majority of these people, and they can't fight back. And the main reason why is that they never reflected on what type of player they are and what motivates them as a player. And then even from a tactics perspective, how wide is their diversity of tactics? Like, I get on my players in the team, and I keep saying, like, you keep running the same stuff. What's going on? What's going on? If I ever see a player consistently just running a figure in competitive, I'm like, what's going on? Now, there have been some exceptions recently because the meta has been a lot more narrow. But just in general, like, at least in practice, like, oh, okay, you're running a practice team against me. You're not running those figs. So you're running 15, 20, 30 games for being my practice partner where you're not running that figure. That's a lot better. Versus the only thing that I run is blankety blank man. So I think that developing and knowing who you are and being aware of that, knowing where you want to go, what type of skill sets that you need to get there, and realizing that you are not climbing a mountain, you're climbing mountains. And if that scares you, stop and accept where you're at. If that scares you, stop and stay where you at. Because I could tell you the psychological tricks, the mathematical tricks. I could tell you the economic tricks. I can tell you topography. That was one thing when I look back at my old videos. I was like, gosh, dog, I had something with topography. I should have kept that going. That probably would have made me a little bit more motivated through that COVID time. But like looking at the topography, looking even more so of, keyword synergy, looking at team synergy. There's all these things that flow together to make an excellent player. And do you need all of them? No. Can you be inoculated against all of them? No. But I can tell you the darn truth. If you don't have 10, you're going to have a problem. And then someone's going to come back to me, is Dark Logos, which 10? I'm like, that's for you to find out. That's for you to find out. And that's the part where I think, when over all these years and all the shows I've done and been on, where I come back and say, like, the Attack of the Clones is real. And the Attack of the Clones is in every game. But Attack of the Clones is what makes people that are mediocre think that they're great. It realistically is. And there's nothing, to quote Kevin Samuels, you're average at best. And there's nothing wrong with being average, but it's that illusion that a lot of people have is that they're great players or that they deserve to be on one of these teams or blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And it's like, no. Realistically, no. Like a good chunk of folks don't belong, aren't deserved to be on most of these teams because, again, the amount of effort people on most of these teams far surpasses the average player. The amount of time they have thinking and having conversations about this. I talk about heroclix almost every day. You know the times I haven't talked about heroclix? Family event, severely sick. That's it. Or the 1 week off I have after Worlds, where I tell the team, don't talk about heroclix, go be with your family, and all that other stuff. Other than that, I'm talking about heroclix. Whether I'm trolling, laughing, commenting on the team, or practicing, I am talking about heroclix. So, coming back it's like, how many skill sets do you think I've picked up over the years? How many world champions I've talked to, which you have privy to access through my channel and other channels. You can go back and listen to mindsets, dice up what works for you, take out the bones, spit them out, throw them in the trash. Heck, make a shrine to the blood god for all I care. But go and learn the skills. And then after you learn the skills, yep, my daughter's calling me on my phone. Sorry about that. After you learn the skills, you have to develop your own armor and your own kung fu. So I did a show. I'm trying to go find it because I saved it. Episode 226, My Armor, My Kung Fu. Go listen to that because functionally it is breaking down the concepts of these are these tools that I've developed. These are the things that I've made for me. Okay. I'm learning the lesson from David. I'm not putting on Saul's armor. I'm not fighting with the weapons of Saul so I can go fight Goliath because everybody that's fighting with those weapons have died. What's going to make me special? I got brothers coming back at me. It's like, yo, man, you gonna die. Don't go out there. Okay, so it behooves me to listen. So I need to have my own style of fighting. I need to have my own weapons. I need to have my own tactics. Will I bleed to get there? Will there be embarrassing moments for me to get there? Am I going to have moments of questioning my decision making for me to get there? Yes, that is part of the process. The process is not to study and get an A on the first try. The process is noting all the successes and all the failures and then adapting and then going back out into the arena and getting beat up again. That's the process. And people hate the process. I got, just for transparency right now, I have gotten golly-whopped all summer trying to get ready for Worlds. I got beat up so bad that you could call me Tina Turner and my team is Ike. Okay? You would think that I was... No, I'm not going to go there. But here's the process. At the end of it, you know what I said? I'm a better player. I know my limitations. Some of this stuff ain't fun, but I'm going to go do this. That's it. But if someone said like, hey, Dark Logos, here's the best team in the meta, we're going to go put you down against, another person at random. I'm like, I for sure, no matter who it would be, I would give them a game. I'm not saying I would win, but I sure the heck would give them a good game. All right. Even with my most recent team where I ran Phoenix Sentinel, nobody saw Phoenix Sentinel coming, but I practiced so much that the only people that I struggled against was my own people. The people that eliminated me were my own people. And that's not a slight against anybody else, but I put in at least 50 hours. 50 hours of getting my butt whooped plus practicing, plus adaptions, plus team changes, plus sideline changes, plus this figure. Take out that figure. Oh, what about this? No, I can't do that. Oh, what happens when Carnage does this? What happens when Phoenix Sentinel does that? Oh, what can I swap in with Butterfly? And in the future, these names won't matter, but the process remains the same. I play something. I have an idea. I get whooped. I know what worked, what didn't, what was dumb luck. Redo it again. Rework the team. Fight again. And even with me training my AI, somebody's going to come back in the future. It's like, you're the reason why we were enslaved. And I'm like, probably. But probably I have Liberator Bot out there too. And just like Mega Man and Dr. Light, I'm going to be on the Dr. Light side. Maybe not the Dr. Wily side, but the Dr. Light side. But training my AI, I'm like, yes, I finally got it to run my parameters like I wanted to, and that sucker hallucinates and starts making things up. I have to delete days of work at times and start over again. I have to watch other tutorials and videos from these homies that know computer software way better than me, know coding way better than me, know data infrastructure way better than me. Sit through 2, 3, 4 hour talks. My daughter is straight calling my phone. 3, 4 hour talks. And try to figure out, what can I do to fix things? Like, that's the reality. And if you can't stomach that, then you have a problem. Because by the time you finish doing all this work, you know who you are. You know what you need to correct in yourself. You know that you don't have everything. You know that, hey, the struggle is real. You know that out of patience comes perseverance. But that's not just something that poofs downloads into you because you listened to a podcast and they told you the 5 tricks to mental stability. It don't work like that. And so there's always going to be a new buzzword, a new trend about being aware, liking yourself, gaining skills. Here's the 50 new ways of mental retention and all these other things. Here's the psych hack. No. Usually most of that stuff is selling mumbo jumbo. The truth of the matter is you have to do the hard work. At the end of the day, you have to accept failure as a part of the process instead of something to avoid. I'm going to wrap it up with this and move on to the next question. I've spent too much time fighting my Catholic professors on the importance of pain in the development of self. Because, again, at the time, I will say I was a prosperity preacher kid in my mindset. And I thought the whole purpose of the gospel was to try to avoid pain. And yes, the mistakes were made and people grow. But as I developed as a person, as a theologian, I realized the necessity of pain. And pain is not evil in a fallen world. Can pain be used in an evil way? Yes, but pain in and of itself is not evil. Pain is an identifier that something is broken sometimes. Pain is an identifier that something is at its end. Pain is an identifier that this is wrong. And so I realize that a lot of my life and a lot of my failures in life has come from avoiding pain. And it just leads into worse things. Because when you look back in that, those few moments of death, and I've seen folks die. I worked as a chaplain in a hospital, and I've seen folks die. No, feel the ghost pass by, just poof, you here, and then you gone. That those people that were lucid in those last few minutes, and the ones that achieved stuff, had people around them celebrating them. But there was nothing like, Dad got me ice cream, and that's why Dad is the greatest dad. Mom went in and rubbed my feet, and that's why Mom was the greatest mom. It's always a statement of what they overcame, which implies pain, which implies long suffering, which implies discipline. And again, I'm not saying these folks, everybody I saw pass over is the same, is saints or something like that. I don't know them people like that. But it's one thing is clear. It's a clear testimony of who you are when folks come back and talk about what you overcame versus what you provided and did. It's different. It hits different. So anyway, there's that. So Mike, there's my sermon for you. There you go. All right. Slick Tricky Rick. I love that name. Okay, what led to the making of Phoenix Nest? The history, the members, past and present, future, major win, biggest win. What does the future hold for Phoenix Nest? Will Dark Logo still be the captain moving forward? Okay, so here's the thing. I did a show. I've done multiple shows about how I made Phoenix Nest. Episode 266, Intro to Organizational Team Building. I have Jamie Jordan from the former Team Juggernaut. That is probably that is my capstone of, like, if you want to build a HeroClix big team, that is probably like my best video. Like, go just listen to that. It's an hour. You're used to listening to me for an hour. So that video is going to give you everything that you need to hear about team building, team organization. I've talked to so many team captains. It's ridiculous. I've talked to so many team members about organizational stuff. It's ridiculous. I have spent a minimum of 10 years working out team organization. And the main reason I've done that is what really stops a lot of players from competing is like-minded individuals that are going to push you. That's why workout buddies are mandatory. But not only that, the intellectual resources and secrecy, that's just mandatory for running a team. That's just it. Without those two things, a lot of players can't make it to the top. But anyway, so summarizing without waxing too nostalgic. So Phoenix Nest was made between myself and my former partner in team building, Maceo Sturdivant. I met him at my first Rock in Tulsa, where I got second and I played Justice League team base against Shuma Gorath and against Adam Friedman, who would later become one of the GOATs of HeroClix. I was hanging out with him. I got him a round loss and myself a round loss because of, quoting him, we had a taco and a talk, and we ended up being late. So we still both broke, but still that did cost us. But we came together as like a force because he was the realist and I was the creative. And when he was the creative, I was the realist. And so the two of us balanced with each other. And before Roll20 was when Roll20 was super secret tech still, believe it or not. It was super secret tech until Patrick Yapoko put everybody on game that he'd been using it for 4 to 5 years before everybody else was using it. We were playing on some antiquated, weird website where we're moving things and calling out squares of where we're moving figures and blah, blah, blah. And we're practicing that way. And we're like rolling dice like locally and probably cheating each other so many times. But he and Jess was his fiance, would sit back and we would go to events. And again, Mace didn't live near me. You know, like we would go to, you know, big events and get together. Like I would talk to the homies so much. Like so much. And he was my sounding board and I his going into, you know, that first few waves of competitive play. Before teams were like a really big thing. And as time progressed, you know, we picked up Wes Griffin, we picked up KJ, we picked up Matty G. And nobody was like, oh, this is about to be something. In actuality, when I put out an open recruiting for my team on my channel, back when I was a lot more popular, I got crickets. I got a handful of people that were like fans, but I made it clear I wasn't looking for fans. I was looking for players. But from the competitive community, it was like, oh, isn't that cute? Sort of response. Like nobody took me, you know, took it seriously. And I know it's sort of like Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was $1, you like, that's a joke. You know, somebody said, I'll give you a Bitcoin now. It's like, yeah, I'll take it. You know, I'll take that 50 G's, baby. You know, so what ends up happening is we have our first squad and let me back up. So before we end up getting Matty G, KJ, and Wes, so it's gosh, dog, this is a hard memory. All right, so it's myself, Mace, and Dragon, Matt Wishart, different Matt, not Matty G. We go to Worlds. We make top 4 at Worlds, 4 teams. Yeah, and Mace is like, look, he's like number 30, like top 36. He's like number 38 or 39. And I told him, yo, dude, you're not going to make it in. Just get some rest and we're going to prepare to do all this other stuff. Well, lo and behold, all those folks didn't show up. 36 didn't show up. And because he wasn't there, he also got skipped. And he had a good team. We put in so much work on that team. So anyway, when we recruit everybody, I felt bad that he didn't make it. And it didn't hit hard until what happens later. Because again, we recruit all the names I listed off every October. Okay. So we're just getting started. And we got some, back and forths on what we want. And then I'm talking to Mace, and Mace is like, we need to get basketball jerseys. Yeah, basketball jerseys. Nobody has basketball jerseys. Because bowling shirts were the big thing because of Ohio players and 4 Points and a few other smaller groups. And I was like, yeah. Then, fast forward some period of time, I get a call from Jess, and Jess tells me Mace passed away. Go back to the episode Death in the Family. And I'm at my mom's house, and I'm talking with my mom, and I just break down and cried because it was his last chance at a world championship. And that was his goal all along, was to break and to see how far down he would go. And I prevented that. So that was hard. That was hard to deal with. Because, like, I have this team. We're just starting. And everybody already sort of thinks that I'm a joke. At this point in time, nobody respects me as the best player in Team Sealed ever. My record is impeccable. I will say there's only one other person, there's only two other people that have a record as impeccable as mine. One of them is Lucas Van Hollen, and the other one is PJ Bolin. Who of which I've teamed with. But anyway, going on, I make a decision that we were going to recruit. And we were going to potentially like merge with another team. And that was something I was thinking about. But Matty G said, "Nah, let's do this." KJ and Wes Griffin was reinforcing. It's like, nah, let's do this. And so at that point in time, I was like, all right, let's go. So we had a year of hitting it hard. We all showed up to Tulsa. There's a picture on my Facebook where Matty G won Tulsa, and I went partially crazy trying to build teams for 5 people. and the end result was I went partially crazy trying to build teams for 5 people, and Matty G won the event. Later on, we ended up picking up PJ. PJ was a great ad. Then we went into what folks would call the mass recruiting campaign. We picked up Isaac Dickey, David, who's no longer with us, Lucas, Tommy, and Austin, like all in the batch. So we had a whole bunch of people try to delegate training. That was inconsistent. It did have some advantages and some disadvantages. I started to standardize training and a bunch of other things like that. Over time, I'll say I've had members on the team, and every single one of them I've been grateful for. Sarah, when she was on the team for a short bit. Eric, even though he annoyed the hell out of me for a period. George, when George was on the team, I functionally, one of the main people I built the team for was George. And when I was building, I built the proto version of the team. I learned real quick what didn't work, what worked and what didn't work. And that proto version of the team, I'm glad it blew up, because what I had now is stable, or more stable. But yeah, like Joe and some folks would be like, well, you got Alex Mader after he won US Nats. And it's like, no, we were talking to Alex before US Nats. And he went through the process like everybody else. So yeah. I just think like all in all, like most people don't understand why recruiting is important. And even more so, I think most people don't understand for the longevity of the game that recruiting needs to be mandatory. But that's a whole other philosophy thing. But anyway, going back, biggest win. First major win was that Super Q that Matty G won. Biggest win technically for the team, it's sort of tied because we won Team Worlds with Adam Friedman. PJ was the King of the North, winning Canadian Nats while a member of the team. And like we've won Rocktober teams like a member of our team has won that multiple years. So you get to this point where you get a pedigree of we win. Like we have a listing in our Discord, and it's important for morale and at times to sort of remind you who you are and who you're with. We have a listing of wins. Not like I got second or I placed. You had first place. You won the event. And it's for a reason. And it's not some a-hole reason. And it's not the Ricky Bobby reason. If you're not first, you're last. But it's to remind yourself as you look down that list. And it's pages upon pages upon pages. This is the legacy that you are part of. This is the organization you are a part of. Your history is not forgotten. It is documented. And when you join the team, you can see the history of what you are a part of. You are not part of just some group that shows up and occasionally wins. You are dealing with one of the major teams that dominates all the time. You're talking about joining one of the top 3 teams in heroclix. You are. And so if someone's like, oh, well, what's the top 3? I would argue it's a tie between 4 Points, Clickstoff, Phoenix Nest. And folks will be like, well, what about this? What about that? And like, no. Currently, as we stand, Clickstoff, 4 Points, Phoenix Nest. But you don't have this. You don't have that. I'm like, look. Do you see our history? Like I could pull up the Discord and tell you my history. I could tell you the lineage of when I started keeping track. Not even before that. Like my SQ win is not on this list. Maddie's SQ wins, Winamaps, all these other things are not on this list. Okay? And so when you understand that, then all of a sudden you start realizing, oh, you're that Phoenix Nest. You're that team. So, like, even with me, like, trying to scroll up to get to the top, and, like, in one go, I got up to 2021. Like, still scrolling. 2020. Still scrolling. All the way back to 2019. We started. So it's not even. It's not even like, oh, this is the exhaustive history, and it's like 8 pages. No, it's not. It's not. Like something going back here. It's like checking my math on this. Make sure I'm right and nothing got left out. 2019. Wes makes cool graphics. Wes Summers. 2019 Team World Championship. Team Rock Cup National Championship. heroclix Team Championships. Majestic 1K winner. 11 state championships. 11 WizKids Opens. 3 regional championships. 2 Majestics Trial. WWE Tag Event. 26 Winamaps. That's 2019. That's 1 year. It's too much. So I don't have a biggest win. I know for me, my personal biggest win was Clicks Championship teams where we won. And there's a video on that too. You got me crying on camera. What does the future hold for Phoenix Nest? Stable recruiting. A bit more refined growth. I think I don't have to build brand anymore. Like the fashion, the legacy, the majority of your podcasters came out of this team. They either were on this team or are on this team currently, were part of this team at some point in time. Like, there was a joke we had for a long period. It's like the meta is made in our Discord. So, like, you know, like I think for me, I'm going to be looking for more people to play online and more people to travel. I'm be looking for people that exhibit the ability to grow. I'll be looking for people with the dynamics to pick up stuff. Because I think at the point that we are now, it's not a figure issue. It's a willing to learn issue. And willing to experiment. If folks aren't willing to do that, then there's a problem. And somebody would come back and is like, if I was on Phoenix Nest, I'd do that. It's like, no, you wouldn't. Because in our Discord, there's a lot of fighting about who's right. And if you can't hold your ground and prove that you're right, or at least valid, you will not tolerate our team. And it's not like hardcore arguments like we hate you afterward, but there's a lot like, nah, man, I think this is just a bad idea. And if you can't tolerate the phrase, objectively, your team is just bad, you definitely do not belong on my team, because you will hear that multiple times in multiple different ways. Sometimes it's kind and sometimes it's not. So yeah, it's just finding people that work for the culture. I'm over the time of trying to get bodies and trying to build up a force. Now I'm looking like, okay, like I have a place for you for teams. Like, hit me up. There's a couple of cats I probably would have pilfered if it wasn't for a bad lesson I learned. But yeah. Will Dark Logo still be the captain moving forward? For right now, yes. Moving forward, inevitably, I'm going to have to give it up because I have a daughter, which you've heard her call my phone. And also, as things progress, I am getting less and less out of heroclix. There was a moment where you would get paid. And folks will be like, what do you mean you would get paid? I'm like, no, you would get swagged out where you could make some money. Worlds was a place for you to get swagged out and make some money. Now you can't do that. Like, they keep wanting us to play for honor and crap. That's bad. I played for honor last year. Nope, not doing that again. I'm here to get paid. I'm going to play a little bit for honor, but I'm going to play to get paid. And if WizKids continues this, we're going to weekly pay out. We're going to make the winner baller, but everybody else is sort of, go suck an egg. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm not going to put all that energy into 300 Modern anymore. And that's just the God honest truth. If the new cat comes in and he's like, yo, I hear you, we're going to work on this. Okay, we have something. But the going forward, you see me in 300 Modern. He's like, oh, that's Dark Logos. What the heck you playing, man? I'm like, I'm playing fun and I'm playing effective. If I break, I break, God willing. You hit me in pulp, I will come to be a Mortal Kombat character. I will rip your spine out of your throat and then use your skull as a puppet because pulp matters. You hit me in teams, I am Chief Edward Shelton of Wakanda. I lead the mighty warriors who have been undefeated, and you have stepped onto the terrain of Wakanda. That's how I'm going to act if I face you in teams. You face me 300 point modern, I'm going to be like, hey man, how you doing? You get nice, Edward. Let's play a game, Edward. Pulp and teams, you're going to get, rip your face out, Edward. That's just the God honest truth. I don't think there's a economically, there is not going to be a very positive future for 300 Modern if WizKids keeps their current philosophy going. I'm just being 100. Could they turn things around? Yes. But if they keep it the way they are, no. Just folks aren't going to have money. But one day I'll give up the throne and just be a member and sit back, and folks are going to ask me, well, what you do, and blah, blah, blah. And hopefully no one tries to use me to start a coup. So, and if that happens, everything falls apart. And I've said this in meetings. It's like it can all blow up, and it'll be me, my nephew, and my daughter, or some other people, and we'll be Phoenix Nest, and that's fine. Okay. Will Holland, story time. I don't know if you changed your name because of your podcast, Will, or because of what I say, Dark Logo story time. He says, I'm going to ask about the watch list, but you can tie it into the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse conversation from the last episode. So, a little bit here, I don't really want to touch too much on the current watch list because it was needed. The whole point that's coming is we're about to hit that 4th Horseman. And go back and listen to the 4 Horsemen podcast. Again, if you notice, I'm just giving you reference material. My main thought right now is it's an inevitable cycle of destruction. Because once they banned the Scott Porters, did they fix anything? Did they see that there was a problem? And how quickly can you straighten the ship? And the answer is they can't straighten the ship fast enough. They can't. Because the moment that they came in and like, oh shoot, Scott Porters are a problem. Scott Porter is the number 1 and number 2 most built with character in heroclix. We have a problem. And it's not by 100 teams or 200 teams. It's by 500 teams difference between White Shirt Porter at number 1 and the number 3 character. It's that vast. So, by the time they fix all of this stuff, whether it be Kong or any other figure, the question comes back to us is, will WizKids learn math? Will WizKids learn math? And I know they have a fun math, but do they have a practical competitive math? What do I mean by this? Fun math means I roll a 7. That functionally gives you about a 50-50 chance slightly into the side of the attacker, which allows the game to resolve. Okay? When you start printing 11s, 12s, and occasionally 13 attacks, there are major problems. And the first major problem is this. Your defenses hard cap printed at 20. Your rule of 3 makes it so that these attacks, starting at 11, can hit 14, requiring you to have a 6, and then at a 12, requiring you to have, capping out at 15, requiring you to have a 5. That doesn't also include your ability to lower defense with abilities like PD. Okay. All right. So, when your stats are functionally metacraptastic because you have dealt out a bunch of cheap perplex a bunch of cheap prop and above average damage values and easy support damage pumps, the game becomes absurd because WizKids can't do math. And that all starts to cycle into, hey, here we have power creep, then we have defense creep, and then we have control, and we have the add-ons, demons at the end. And it becomes a problem. And can WizKids ever stop the cycle? No. Because that money crack is real. And you have to understand, by the time a person starts a cycle, people aren't coming in at the beginning of a cycle all the time. Sometimes people come in at the mid-cycle or in the desolate times. So they haven't really felt that wild train. And a cycle can take 5 to 6 years sometimes. But that cycle is inevitable. So a player could be playing a long time before it finally is like, no, this is apocalypse. I'm out. Like, for example, for me, the last 3 sets, I've just played sealed. And I've ended up buying stuff for pulp that I need, or I buy just stuff for teams. And that's it. Like, there's no reason for me at this phase in the game to be buying and getting the newest and whatever to compete. There's not enough tournaments in the cycle to make it worth it. I could just sit back and be like, oh, those are some shiny figures I'll never get to play. Like, literally at this point, as many years as I've been playing, I have hundreds of pieces that were the stuff during their era that I never played. I have Doomsday Weapon upon Doomsday Weapon upon Doomsday Weapon sitting that never played at all. And what was that one, like, Toy Story quote? Like, the worst thing possible is a toy that's never been played with. Like, it gets worse as an adult. It gets worse. So, the thing I look at for myself, and I look at the future of the game, is, first off, these legacy cards, y'all gonna have to do some quality control on these legacy cards. Because, again, WizKids can't do math. Because you can't be putting legacy cards on characters that got 8 and 10 range on these maps. I'm sorry. You can't. And then give them Omnivision. You can't. You can't. And if you try, you just go create more problems for yourself. Okay? You got to start putting penalties on some of these cards where they got like range penalties and movement penalties and stuff like that, but you give them something baller, in return. Stuff like that. But again, I'm not the one that doesn't understand math. I know it's shots fired at WizKids, but it is. WizKids doesn't understand math. You want to try to make the games more aggressive. Then it's like, are you trying to give everybody freaking full map reach? If so, just make it so that people could just do full map reach with a TK. Full map reach, TK charge, boop, I'm there. TK running shot, boop, I'm there. Okay? Heck, just keep the same stats we had before and make TK a ranged attack only where it can't move characters. Where you could start flinging terrain and potentially generate terrain. Or you have a chance of flinging 2 pieces of terrain. Like, that to me would work better and keep the stats the same. Now we have a pretty balanced game. But again, I'm not in charge of game design. And I think that's one of the core issues is, and I've said this in the distant past, but I'm going to say it now. The meta player is not the main customer of WizKids. The people that play at home, at their dining room table, with their own wacky racer rules, are the main people that buy heroclix. My store will sell out or not sell out, of heroclix based off of folks that I never seen show up on a Friday. For real. The people that play at my venue now will buy their product, and then that following weekend, poof, all the other stuff is gone. If it's a pop-in set or a pop-in theme, it's gone. So who's buying? It is not us. Sure the heck not me anymore. Outside of a select group of products. Like I've bought more iconics than I have full sets. And that's another thing that's sort of competing for your dollar now is iconics, because iconics are their less expensive on their end, more secure way of having micro sets in between major sets. So when folks gonna flush down these iconics, just watch the crying happening. But then they try to sell you on iconics by like look, man, they look cool. You put them in your office and you look like you big pimpin'. So what? You can't play with them no more. But they look cool, man. When you could have been made all the sculpts look cool. Like 100, you could have made all the sculpts look cool. But you didn't. So now what do we say? What, you couldn't mass produce them when clearly you just did? We couldn't put them in boosters. I'm like, no, you could. You just need to redesign your booster design. But that's not not my problem. Not my, what was it? The one teacher said, not my circus, not my monkey. So, anyway, all in all, like, the main thing to stop a lot of this dumb stuff that goes on with WizKids is, number one, you and I say this definitively without dry snitching on anybody I've known, because I've known this for years. You can't just keep having this one beta phase of play testing, make corrections, and then don't play test the changes. You can't do that. If you have something that's like, oh, that's okay, then you don't put it into your second round of play testing. And you just need to tell everybody, hey man, I want y'all to focus on these figures and tell us, like, yo, how are they going to break things? Because I can tell you for the God honest truth that they didn't playtest Scott Porter's. And the arrogancy of the paid WizKids game designers is inevitably, and it's not like me saying like the latest guy or this, like all of them have the same level of arrogancy that they want to create things that shouldn't be play tested. And that's dumb. That's dumb. It's foolish. And that's how you end up breaking your game and having a bad experience. Anyway, let's keep it moving. McConnell. Lamar. This homie, I follow the homie on Facebook. What will your involvement in heroclix be after ending the podcast? Will you continue to play in tournaments and be involved with Phoenix Nest? Thank you for all that you've done for the heroclix community. Okay, so right now I'm gonna play, but I currently play at my locals like once a month or once every month and a half, and there's a couple of reasons for that. My venue now is half kids. Okay, and I have new adults, and the other old monster, who is a better player than who I couldn't convince to be a competitive player on the national scene, and his name would have been known and he would have been a world champion, Josh. You've seen him in some videos. When he and I start to heavy compete, we've killed the venue 4 times doing it. And you would think we would have learned after the second time. But also, too, I've seen the cycle of heroclix with the 4 horsemen, and the 4 horsemen also end up playing a part of it. But I have times where I can't just go because my wife is doing something on a Friday, or I can't leave my daughter at my mother-in-law's on that Friday. Or it's just sometimes like, yo, like, WizKids Prize Support is weak. I'm literally going to the venue to play against kids and some adults, already knowing that if I fully apply myself It is no competition. The only time that they have a chance is in sealed, and if there is constructed, there's only one other person there that can compete with me at the level that I'm at. So I take that back. There's two. There's Seth, and Seth is good still, but Seth is feeling like I'm feeling, like he can't unleash the beast either. But that's realistically my local scene. Like, I'll go play some special events and other things, but I can't always go as much as I want to. And then on the other end is, I don't want to be beating up children all the time. Now, do I want to teach them and help them and all the other stuff? Yes. And we got some special needs kids, and they're doing pretty good. But yeah, like, I don't want to just go up there and be like, yeah, beat up kids and that's all I do. The adults, there are people that I could play that, yeah, I can have fun. I could, like, and here's the other part. I specifically, at first, bought the Iron Man Hall of Armor Iconics so I could have something that was, quote unquote, competitive, but not OP. Then I learned how to make it a little bit OP. And that's when I had to say, gosh darn it, even when I'm not trying, I'm trying. So there's that. So local tournaments, I've sort of fallen off. I'll go play. I'll be supportive. If there's anything special around, I'll go play. If they start the tournament scene back up again and it's not craptastic, I will show up to those that are in like that Omaha, Kansas City, Iowa, and possibly as far down low as Tulsa. I would have to make a family trip to do Texas or anything else. And if I do that, Lord knows, like, that Sunday better be an awesome day. And then we also could get back before midnight, because we both would have to my wife and I would have to go to work on Monday. Unless it's the summer, and then even with that, we have other issues of where your money coming from, Dark Logos. Where your money coming from? So that's the one part I don't like about the teacher. It's you got that 1 month of no dinero, really about a month and a half, and it sucks. So anyway, am I still going to be involved with Phoenix Nest? Yeah. Nothing's really changing on that, and the main reason that the show is ending the way it is because it's viewership and time. Like, 1 hour to record equals an hour I'm away from my daughter and my family. I'm upstairs, they're downstairs. Not only that, it takes about an hour to 2 hours of post work. And that's if I don't try to find some cool, funny movie quote thing at the beginning of the show. So if I do that, plus record for that, that's another usually hour to 30 minutes to an hour that I'm tacking on to do that plus post. So it doesn't seem like a lot. It's like, that's 5 hours, But like when it's all stacking up and you're dealing with a toddler, it don't hit the same. And yeah, there's times where it's like I'm mainly watching my daughter. And there's other times where my wife is mainly watching her daughter. And there's times our daughter is watching herself because we're phased out looking at the TV or looking at the screen or something else, and then she's running around like, yay! So I'm trying not to have a lot of that, because then you later on be like, what's wrong with your kid? And then it's like, I was playing Pokemon Go the entire time, so that don't work. Also, the viewership has gone down, and the views are like sub 100, and I think for me, I already knew for like 4 to 5 years now that there wasn't an opportunity to grow. And even when I've had core people on that are well known in the community, it doesn't really give me that significant bump. But when I start looking at some other major players' YouTubes, I really was not that far behind until you start going to the unboxing cats. And there's no way for me to compete with the unboxing cats because I don't have unboxing like money. And while I'm on a cordial relationship with WizKids, I definitely had not been one of their friends for a long period of time. And that's why a majority of you all come and listen to me, because I'm not going to blow smoke about WizKids. You know, I'm not going to tell you that it's, you know, a sunshine when there's literally, you know, poo flying from the explosion that happened over at the, you know, the water filtration plant. Like, I'm not going to tell you, oh, it's a sunny day out here in heroclix land when it's literally, you know, raining poo on your head. So, yes, have things gotten better, but they're not going to give me a brick. If I'll laugh. I'll laugh. If WizKids say, hey, Dark Logos, we want you to unbox this brick of this Wakanda, the Black Panther Wakanda Forever set or whatever the heck it is. We want you, the quintessential black man of heroclix podcasting, to unbox this set. Hell, I'll even say this. Calder, if you're listening, I will, if you get a brick of that, I will be willing to meet you somewhere in between where you and I live to be there for that unboxing and do it. Okay? And I know WizKids will be like, no, we don't want that. I will freaking wear a mask and be, you know, fat T'Chaka. Okay? I'll be old T'Chaka with my claws and talons and everything. Like, yeah, I'll do it for you. I'll even talk like this. So that the WizKids does not know that it is I, Dark Logos, the one unboxing with you. But other than that, I'm not going to get unboxing. So it comes down to what am I actually doing for the channel. And as I've sort of calmed down a bit from old man Logos get off my yard to that's Unk Logos. I think that's going to be the final form, Unk Logos. I've sort of just realized, like, here's my relationship with WizKids. I delegate through other people I know. I have enough contacts with people that are in nice positions that I just be like, yo, here you go. And also, I'll say this, and I brought it up in the other video, is I'm not kidding about the AI thing. I've been wanting to do the AI thing for over 10 years now. I get started and fall off. I'm at my first month of like consistent development. Does that mean that I'm about to be the next Steve Jobs? No. But having sort of the time to just sit there and look at it, play with it, not have my wife yell at me about what you're doing. Are you playing that game? And actually be working on something that I can transfer into the future. And, you know, who knows? Like, I could have something to hand off to my nephew and my daughter and be like, this is the artifact of something I worked on that you can use. That means a lot. You know, my nephew liked the Teen Titans Go heroclix, but when I was like, you want to play? He's like, nah. He's like, I'm back on my phone. And my daughter grabs my heroclix primarily to look at, say, ooh, and then throws them. So let's just say she was not around my Egyptian god cards that I bought. That's Khonshu, Tawet, and Ahmet, if folks don't know the joke, because there's 3 Egyptian god cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! So anyway. So yeah, am I done with the community? If anybody ever wants to invite me on a stream or a show or whatever, they can. Like, it just doesn't happen that much anymore. Because most of the cats that I came up with and helped on the podcasting front, they retired out. And that's fine. Like, 'cause everything's a season. But, you know, if folks see me at a tournament, I'm still going to be rocking the 0-1 on my back. You know, Like if anything, I'm Logos Prime, for Phoenix Nest. Not out of pride, but I am the first. And so if you see me, say hey or whatever, it's all good. But yeah, that's pretty much the future. I'll be playing, I'll be competing. If my daughter wants to get into it more hardcore when she gets older, cool. If not, cool. If my nephew wants to get into it when he gets older, cool. If not, cool. All right. NSCACPT. This homie been with me for years on the comments section. Like, years. Folks think you don't know these little things. But brother knows. Pepperidge Farm remembers. And so does Dark Logos. I love the podcast. I love your perspective on the game. It really sad for me for the podcast to end. Would you be involved in some aspect of the game going forward? I already sort of hit that. I'll still be around. Just not doing the show. And I think more importantly, I'll be involved with Phoenix Nest, but some things will change. I got a daughter. I got a wife. I got stuff to do. Like, I had a family member give me a proposition for a potential technological opportunity that may or may not happen. So it all comes down to what I got to do, So, all right. That's it. I'm going to wrap up my thoughts and then we're going to end this episode. It's been a long journey, and I've been doing this for over 10 years, and my team is over 10 years old. And I won't say I never thought I would say that, but I definitely, when I was making Phoenix Nest, and I was like, oh yeah, 10 years from now, it's going to be blah, blah, blah. Going to be awesome. I've had this fantasy, though, like 20 years from now, having one of those, like, big family reunion type pictures where everybody's, like, behind, Grandpappy on the bleachers and stuff, and they take a big family photo. I've always had a vision of, like, that. And I thought that would be hilariously great. Something that I can put up and look at and remember, maybe not my second family, but at least my third. And just be like, yeah, those are my people. We loved each other and hated each other a whole lot. And we told each other, mean things, and we were there for family events and crises, lives and deaths. Those are my people. So, and that's the one thing that as a younger man, I'm grateful for heroclix. And even as an older man, yeah, there's some things I look back, it's like, dang, man, economically, I could have been in a far better position if I didn't find this game. But what I needed in terms of having an environment where I could interact, compete with other young men and other men that's not violent, that forces me to use my brain and be social, was probably one of the most positive things that my 20-something mind needed. And realizing that as I sort of step back, that without those things, and even some of the connections that led to employment, would I even have a show? The answer would be no. Would I even understand some of the basics of game theory? No. Would I understand some basics of probability? No. So there are other skills that this game has given me that I'm, and being associated with this game is giving me has been great. But, like I even say, it's like, remember, we all have to start over sometime. So, anyway, we have 2 more shows to go before we end, and the guest appearance of my daughter coming up here is duly noted. So, you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. We are no longer in outer space. We got X'd out. My Twitter man died. My Twitter account died. I can't get him to speak. He got lost in outer space. And I think until the end, he shall be banished into the outer darkness, where he shall do battle against the devil. Hopefully. And leave a comment below. And I'm thankful for everybody that did put a comment. I had more comments than I thought I was going to get from that little video. So that's it. I'd like to thank you all for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime. Lead out. 1, 2.